Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest Star Wars tabletop game you probably may have heard of, you may not have because it's brand spanking new. AMG just announced Star Wars Shatterpoint. We're going to be talking about this game today. I want to do a breakdown of everything we know and I also address some frequently asked questions. I also have some guesses and theories and speculation, which I'll try to push most of that to the end because I want to get you guys the real greatest information that we do know about this game, which is admittedly not a whole lot, but there have been some important things that have been clarified by Atomic Mass Games about Star Wars Shatterpoint. So we're going to talk about this game today in this video, but before I do that, I just want to do a little admin stuff. If you guys aren't new here to the channel, I do talk a lot about Star Wars tabletop games. Games like Star Wars Shatterpoint, Marvel Crisis Protocol, Star Wars Legion, Star Wars X-Wing, Star Wars Armada, lots of Star Wars tabletop games. That's kind of what we do here. So if you want to learn more, you're in the right spot. So I'd love for you to stick around, click that subscribe button, jump in our Discord, a great family-friendly gaming Discord. You can jump in there and ask questions, keep the discussion going. Also links to other social media stuff and Patreon and all that stuff is in the video description below. We are also running a lightsaber giveaway that's running through the end of the year. And all you have to do to enter to win that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. And I'd just love for you to let me know what are some of your favorite Star Wars characters that you'd love to see show up in a game like Star Wars Shatterpoint. Who do you really want to get on the tabletop? Especially somebody that you haven't gotten already, which I think would be pretty interesting. All right, and also we're going to be doing 12 Days of Life Day in December as well, which is random giveaways all throughout the month of December. I usually announce winners towards the end of my videos, so you have to kind of stick around and watch, and that's kind of my way of getting you involved and engaged and hopefully watching throughout most of the video. With all that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Star Wars Shatterpoint. What is Star Wars Shatterpoint? It is a skirmish game. It is a miniatures game. It is a Star Wars game. And what do all those things mean? Well, if you're brand new to miniatures games and you don't really understand what this is, think of it like a board game where each person brings their own pieces. Think of it like something like Magic the Gathering, except instead of cards, you're actually going to bring a build, an army, a team, so to speak, a force, a squad. You're going to put your best against your opponent's best and see who comes out on top. A lot of times you're going to play a game like this on a big table with terrain, little buildings and bridges and things with elevation, the high ground and the low ground. Of course, Obi-Wan's here. You have to have the high ground. And there usually are cards that represent the heroes. We do know that there are cards that represent the heroes, character cards. There may also be other types of cards that go into this, cards for objectives, things like that. We know that things like elevation are going to play a big part of this game. Also, objectives and scenarios are going to be a big part of this game as well. It's not just going to be, whoever has the biggest lightsaber wins. It's also going to be largely about who can strategically navigate the map, get to the objectives, accomplish the mission, and also use their lightsaber quite a bit, because there's going to be blasters, there's going to be lightsabers, there's going to be lots of characters from the Clone Wars in this game, but it is not necessarily restricted to only being Clone Wars, but everything we have seen is going to be Clone Wars. So as a miniatures skirmish game, a lot of people have asked, is this going to come with pre-painted miniatures? What I'm seeing here, is this exactly what I'm gonna get? And the answer to that is not really. I don't want to say no completely, because you are going to be getting these miniatures, but they are going to become unpainted. AMG is a company that makes a lot of hobby miniatures, and they really want to encourage the hobby process. So that means you having your miniatures on a frame, otherwise known as a sprue, clipping those out like you would a model kit, assembling them, painting them, maybe even doing some modifications, like saying, you know what, I want Anakin Skywalker to be standing on grassland and putting some soil and some grass down, or some rocks, or maybe you want Obi-Wan Kenobi standing on a whole bunch of skulls or something. Well, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you do that for Asajj Ventress, right? Or maybe you do it for Obi-Wan Kenobi. But it's that kind of game. It's that kind of customizability. Maybe you want to paint your Obi-Wan Kenobi with red armor for, like, maybe that one Clone Wars arc where, he wore Mandalorian armor and he had the red stuff. or maybe he's going undercover in your mind and for your team. So basically being able to make the miniatures your own is one of the things AMG kind of wants to do. So they're not going to give you pre-painted miniatures. Now, if that's a problem, there are plenty of people out there that will do custom jobs, that will do commissions and build and paint the minis for you. So that is an option you can pursue. So if that's the only thing holding you back, I would encourage you to pursue commissioned painters, and that can be enough to get you into a hobby like this if you're not down for painting it yourself. Although I do encourage you to give it a shot because painting is a lot of fun. It's one of my places of zen, and I love to do it. So that's kind of what this game is. It's not going to be coming pre-painted, but you will have to do some assembly, and there'll be tons of tutorials. I'll be walking you through building these. I do a lot of build videos and instructional guides, what kind of hobby tools you should get, the types of glue you should get, all kinds of stuff like that. I do that for a lot of other games, and I will also be doing it for this. Terrain is another question people are asking. What about the terrain? And also that kind of goes hand in hand with what kind of scale is this game going to be in. People have noticed that these miniatures look larger than Star Wars Legion miniatures, which is a similar game with a little bit smaller miniatures. This looks to be about the size of Marvel Crisis Protocol, but when asked to compare this to Legion, AMG has said that this is a unique game with its own rule set, and it's also in its own scale. So it is in a different scale than Star Wars Legion. It hasn't been verified exactly what scale it is, but based on people kind of trying to compare this to other things that are in the background or looking at the size of the base and the height of the base and all this stuff, it looks to be about a 40 millimeter game. What that basically means is a character is probably going to be about this tall-ish. About this tall-ish. Think close to Marvel Crisis Protocol, within a few millimeters probably of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Also, I would say maybe in the ballpark of Disney Infinity's characters with the kind of rounder bases, and so somewhere in that kind of scale is where we seem to be anticipating that this will be. And that's also based a lot on the amount of detail that are in these miniatures and the incredible paint jobs that we're seeing showcased on a lot of these. It does look like it's going to be a remarkably sculpted, really, really nice looking miniatures. And for this level of detail, they're going to be a little bit larger than we get in Star Wars Legion. Now, a lot of people are asking when can I get this, and when is more information going to be available? So here's some of the dates that we do know for this game. It is going to go up for pre-order in January of 2023. And once that happens around January, around 2023, we're also going to be getting a lot more information on this game. March of 2023 is when Adepticon, huge miniature wargaming convention, is going to kick off in Chicago. And that's where we're going to be getting our first hands-on look at this game. If you are going to Adepticon, you may get your chance to demo this game in person, and sometimes places at Adepticon give out some early swag, so maybe if you're lucky, you'll get some swag. I don't know. Like, once upon a time, Star Wars Legion gave out core boxes to people early. So that's definitely a thing, right? Like, but I'm not saying they're going to do that here. I don't even know if they can do that here, but that happened with Legion, and I'm going to stop the conversation there because who knows what'll happen. I mean, that's really speculation to go any further than that. But anyway, to get your first hands on, to see it live, to be able to maybe demo it and all that stuff, your first chance of that will be March, although there will be lots of information available before that. Also, official release is targeting of summer 2023. So that's when this is likely to be actually hitting store shelves, pre-orders being delivered, things like that. So this is basically going to be kicking off the grand launch of this whole new game system in summer of 2023. Also, a lot of people are wondering, like, all right, well, what comes in the core set? What else are we going to have to buy? How are expansions going to work? We don't have definitive answers for that, but there will be expansions. We do know that a lot of the characters that we see here is not the end of the story, basically. We are more characters coming than what has been seen here. Well, for example, AMG has talked about Mace Windu, Padme Amidala, Cad Bane, Kit Fisto. There's other Jedi, there's other characters that are coming. It looks like there's going to be a pretty big character-focused game. Now, what is this game, like how it makes this game different? How is this game going to stand apart from a lot of other stuff? What we do know about that question is that this game is meant to be a love letter to like Saturday morning cartoons, kind of going back to the those type of episodic experiences. It's one of the things that they were trying to accomplish with this. This is trying to be very character and story driven as far as the scenarios. There's going to be objectives. Again, like I said before, it's not just a death match. It's not just slaughter each other and the last man standing wins. Much like in episodes of the Clone Wars or any type of show you would watch growing up, but of course, probably most closely the Clone Wars, there was always a reason for the fighting. It wasn't just fighting for the sake of fighting, although that can be fun too. I mean, I'm definitely down for fighting for the sake of fighting, especially when it comes to tabletop games. But usually there was something like maybe recover the astromech droid or take control of the facility or whatever. And that's, if we get into the speculation a little bit, I would begin to speculate that that's how a lot of the objectives and missions will work with this game. AMG tends to do a lot of area control scenarios and grabbing a token type of scenarios. And that's, I mean, effectively every game of Marvel Crisis Protocol has those two objectives. There's an area you have to secure, and then there's something you have to grab, like a grab and go. Like get that intel, chip, get that hard drive, get the stolen data tapes, and make sure the opponent doesn't kill you, you drop it and then they take it. And then at the same time you also earn victory points by securing that area, like become king of the hill, secure this area. So, that's probably what, I mean, I'm guessing that's what we're going to expect to see, those types of mechanics here, because that's what AMG has been doing for a while now. So that's some speculation. But it's kind of in speculation that's based on informed decisions, based on things that AMG has done before. One more important question that has been asked a lot is, does this mean the end of Star Wars Legion? Does this mean the end of Marvel Crisis Protocol? Does this mean the end of X-Wing or Star Wars Armada? Now, AMG has officially said that no, it does not. This is a new game. This is being added to the catalog of games that exist. This is joining them as one of several Star Wars games that AMG has. It is not replacing anything. So that is the official word from Atomic Mass Games. Now, as far as, I want to put some conjecture out there. We're going to talk about some opinions for things. We're also going to talk about things that are very, very likely, like things like how squad building may work, how expansions are going to be kind of grouped, or what may come in expansions, because there's a lot of images and there's a lot of units that I want to talk about that are likely to be grouped a certain way, and that give us sort of an informed opinion on how this game is going to work and how some of the expansions may look and what we can expect to see. Now, as far as what does this mean? As far as if I play Legion, should I be afraid? If I play Armada, should I be afraid? I don't think there's going to be much for you to be afraid of for a while. I don't think much is going to change. If we look at how Atomic Mass Games has been approaching their Star Wars games lately, it seems that Armada hasn't gotten very much treatment. Probably, I expect that to continue to be the same. X-Wing has not gotten new ships unless they were already in the pipe from FFG, but the AMG stuff specifically is new card packs. I expect that to continue. Legion has certainly slowed down, but Legion was already in a slowdown mode. But Legion still has physical product. I expect that to continue as well. We know that Star Wars Legion has the Ewoks planned for 2023. We know that there are still a few other things coming. There's like Moff Gideon and Dark Troopers and Rebel Boba Fett coming out actually fairly soon. And there's also a number of missing SKU numbers. So the Legion has probably at least like maybe 12 more line items, like that we don't know about yet, planned, are coming out. And I think a lot of those will be related to the Ewoks and, in a big wave that's coming out in 2023. So there's definitely, life in Legion. And so this is probably, I think most people were going to say this is probably most closely treading on Star Wars Legion's territory, in that it's very similar. It's the most similar to Star Wars Legion out of all the other games. Arguably maybe Marvel Crisis Protocol, but since that's Marvel and it's not Star Wars, I feel like they're walking two different paths. Although they certainly may end up being similar enough to be compatible, and wouldn't that be cool? I think that would be a really fun thing if you could actually take, Anakin Skywalker up against Captain America and see how that stuff works. But that's just dreaming. We'll have to wait and see how the combat and how the game system works. They've certainly said that it is its own distinct game system with its own rules. We'll have to see how close it is to Marvel Crisis Protocol, because I love to try to cross-contaminate games a little bit and see if there's a way we can kind of homebrew it to make it work. But basically, I don't think players of other games need to worry. I think your support from AMG will probably continue to be about the same. That means a couple more card releases for X-Wing, maybe a Rapid Reinforcements Part 2 for next year for Armada, and then of course we have the Ewoks next year, and then some of the rest of the Mandalorian-based stuff. So that's coming up. I don't think there's anything to worry about for at least a year. Maybe maybe a year from now we may notice that they haven't announced anything new for Legion or whatever. But we'll have to assess that next year around this time, what the future for those games are like. But right now, you have at least a full year of support for everything else, and I don't see anything changing within that first year. Again, time will tell for the future. No game stays on life. Stays heavily supported with expansions every month forever. That's just not going to be the case. That is a case, however, when the game is new. So this game will likely get lots and lots of expansions during that first year, and then the first maybe 6 to 12 months that follow its initial release, because that's just par for the course when there is a new game. So don't worry when you notice next year lots and lots of articles. I would wager about 80 to 90% of AMG's Twitter, Facebook, social media stuff over the course of 2023 is largely focused on, especially as we get closer to the release, on Star Wars Shatterpoint. And the reason for that is that's what companies do. When you've got a brand new line that's getting ready to launch, you throw your weight behind it to get it promoted and get it out there. That's what they're going to do with this. It's going to be normal. They do have expansions planned for the first couple of months. Every month there will be new expansions coming out for this. They've already said that, and that's typical. Star Wars Legion had the exact same thing. X-Wing, when 2.5 or 2.0 came out, again, same thing. When 1.0 came out, X-Wing was crazy with the expansions. Even Armada in its first couple of years had much heavier release schedules than it does now. This is just normal. So when a game is new, it has lots more hype and lots more frequency of expansions. So this is normal. Doesn't mean that it's replacing anything else. But after a while, then we'll have to reassess. All right, so I also want to speculate a little bit on how list building will work, because we really don't know how list building works. A lot of people are saying, hey, do I have to run Anakin with the 501st clones? Because people have noticed that there's hey, we see Anakin with the 501st, but then, hey, we got Obi-Wan with his boys. We got Cody over there. So it's do I have to run them together? Well, we don't really know. But it does certainly look like they'll be able to be grouped together, and they'll probably synergize very well with each other. This is typical for Star Wars games, to make things that are thematic also work together in game as far as game mechanics. So blending the mechanics and the theme together is what game companies do. It's what any game company is going to do, and it's what AMG is going to do here. So of course, Rex and the 501st are going to work well with Anakin. I don't have to really put on my prediction hat to guess that, right? That's just going to be the case. Doesn't mean there also won't be other synergies. But what we don't know is, are we going to have to run 501st with Anakin? Or can we run only Jedi or only bounty hunters or things like that? That's really a big question that I have, and I guess that's stuff that we'll explore. There's going to be a lot more questions that are outstanding that I'll probably pose in future videos, because we're going to be talking about this game a lot over the next couple of months, because it's a pretty big deal. But I would also wager that expansions are probably going to come in something like this, because in this initial video, they definitely showed us groups that go together. And I don't expect, if every one of these is its own individual expansion, then that's a lot of expansions that they have at launch. Now, we see, like I said, we've seen Anakin in the 501st, we've seen Obi-Wan, we've seen Cody, we've seen Grievous and Super Battle Droids, right? 2 on a base for the Super Battle Droids, which is a pretty interesting way of, but at the same time, it looks like there's only 3 in this group, right? I don't see like a 4th. There's like no like henchmen, like Obi-Wan has Cody and Anakin has Rex. You know, Grievous doesn't have like Super Battle Droid Bob, who was wearing a top hat and a cane. He's like, I'll show you the way to Monopoly Land. You know, there's nothing like that. I don't even know what Monopoly Land is, and I should edit that out, but I'm going to leave it in because there's so much we don't know. There actually could be a little droid Bob with a little monocle like the Monopoly Man, and I don't know. But yes, so these guys look like they go together. We got Dooku and the we got Dooku and the Magna Guard. Again, this is a group of 3. So there's different, and these guys are probably a little stronger, and there's only one of them on a base, right? So it looks like if for weaker characters, you might get multiple on a base. We do see some, the B2s with 2 on a base. We got the Magna Guard, which is pretty strong, only 1 on a base. We see B1s later on that have 3 on a base. So multiple unit or multiple figures on one base is definitely a possibility, and it's a way for them to kind of show that like this is a weaker unit, but we still want it to take up a whole unit or a whole activation. So that's kind of cool. I kind of like the way that they're doing that. Dooku, great pose on these 2. The art style is also very much seems closer to like Clone Wars inspired than live action inspired, and I really like that. So it's going to have its own distinctive art style. I think that's something else that sort of sets it apart from the other games as well. Here's one of my favorite groups that they've shown. I'm just calling these groups for right now because we don't know if they're going to be squads or if we have to run them all together or how it's going to work. But I do think that like when you go to buy, if you were to buy a Luminara and expansion, it's probably going to come with these 2 like clone commandos. I freaking love the clone commando. Like they're actually having clone commandos show up right now. And I know all the Legion players are saying, well, why can't we have this in Legion? Well, don't worry. The fact that they're here means that they've done, they've gotten approval with Lucasfilm to make Clone Commandos. It means that they've commissioned art for Clone Commandos. So this is, like maybe 2 steps towards that direction of actually bringing them to other games. So when they show up in one game, that's always a good thing because it means they can show up in other games. Trust me, X-Wing and Armada fans have been playing this game for years. Oh, it showed up here? Now it can show up there. Oh, this is in the background art? This means it can show up there. So we play this game. Legion and Shatterpoint will be playing this game now too. But yes, so I just like that we're getting lots of stuff. I'm not a big fan of Barriss, though. I'll tell you that. She has disappointed me, but maybe we'll see her return at some point, and then she'll have a little more popularity. But yeah, so Luminara and Barriss and some clone commandos, very cool look. And I like the pose for Luminara because they use her in a couple of different ways. Like here, like she looks like she's advancing, but then there's other places she looks like she's like being very cautious. Heavily Clone Wars Season 7 inspired Maul, and of course his Mandalorian Super Commandos, otherwise known as the Mauldalorians. Very, very nice. I love the art style and the posing for these. Really, really nice sculpts. And they're going to be intimidating to paint because the bigger they are, the better you have to do, right? When they're really, really small, you can get by like on like the faces and eyeballs. Oh man, that's going to be intimidating. Because when they're super small, you can get by on just like doing a dot. There's times where I just didn't do eyeballs at all. I just let the wash kind of settle into the eye socket and be like, I'm done. But the bigger they are. So like the Mandalorians with helmets, I'm like, all right, helmets I can do. Helmets definitely seem doable. I wonder if this is going to be Gar Saxon too, by the way, because he's got the yellow in his visor as opposed to like the other dudes that have the black. So this might end up being Gar Saxon. But what makes me think it's not Gar Saxon is because they remembered the shield. Bada boom. Okay, little inside joke. There we go. Let's move on. We're done with the jokes for right now, but I think that's a good one. Thumbs up if you think that's a good joke. If you're a Legion player, you'll understand what I mean by that. We've got Ahsoka and some Mandalorians as well. We've got Bo-Katan there, so very cool. So it very well could be Gar Saxon on the other one because you got like obviously these are 2 from the core set since we do see Ahsoka and Maul on the cover clashing. Typically people who are on the cover tend to be inside the box. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's actually very few in the core set. I know people are going to ask what's in the core set. We'll talk about that because I'm not 100% sure. I think most of what we're seeing here are expansions. Like this STD Super tactical droid is kind of in the background. I grabbed a blurrier photo of it because it's usually in the background for most of the stuff when you see in the video. By the way, the video that's playing behind me instead of a starfield, usually I'm in a Star Destroyer in space, but now I'm on a Star Destroyer flying through this video because I thought it was fun. but yeah, so this guy's here. If you notice, the B1s are like 3 on a base. It looks like the Super Tactical Droid is like grouped together with a couple of B1s, like 2 separate B1 droids. Maybe the B1 unit will actually be strong, representing, hey, this is what 3 B1s would attack, what their attack value would be. Or maybe they'll roll more dice because there's 3 of them. We don't even know if there's going to be dice. That's another question. Will there be dice? Will there be card-driven combat? Maybe you'll actually build, like maybe you'll have cards and then you'll have to pull a number and have multiple numbers on them. I haven't seen a good skirmish game. I know there are some. I think there's that carnival game, Malifaux. I think Malifaux uses cards for their base combat, and that would be an interesting thing. So of course, that's one of the things I'm waiting to see. Like, if it uses dice, are they similar to Marvel Crisis Protocol dice? Are there dice other cards instead, or is there some other thing? Maybe it uses water bottles, and if you flip them and they land straight up, you get a critical hit. I don't know. Let me know if you think that you would actually use water bottle. Maybe I stumbled onto a new game system, a dexterity-based miniatures game where you have to flip water bottles and determine crits and damage results based on where the bottle lands. I don't know. But in addition to like a lot of the squads we've seen, some of the positioning of miniatures in this video leads us to believe there will be certain characters that don't belong in a squad, like Jango Fett, certain lone wolf type characters to kind of enhance your whole team as opposed to just the small groups within the team. Maybe Jango Fett can go in with the Magna Guards in place of Dooku, or maybe to augment Dooku and his Magna Guards, or maybe there's lots of different ways to do it. Again, as we learn more about squad building, we're going to talk about that, but it's kind of nice to see. I also really like the way they did Asajj Ventress. She certainly looks like she's, the way she's placed in these videos looks like she's there to kind of augment another group or unit or squad kind of by herself. It doesn't look like she has another like subordinate unit that she comes with as opposed to the other groupings that we have seen. But yeah, really nice work on the Asajj Ventress there. It's pretty cool stuff. Now, my guess is that we are going to see in the core box, we're going to see of course, the Ahsoka and Mandos versus the Maul and Mandos. We're probably going to also see Anakin Skywalker and the 501st. We're probably going to see Asajj Ventress and some B1 battle droids. Maybe the Super Tactical Droid also comes in here. Maybe there's somebody else that comes in here. Maybe the Super Tactical Droid doesn't come in here at all. Maybe Asajj is coming with battle droids. Again, there's a lot that they're not showing us. But if we're going just off of what is shown here, that's going to be my guess. Is we're just going to see the units that we see on the cover of the box actually show up inside. At least those are the things that I would give it a good 98% chance that the stuff we see here on the cover is actually in the box, because that's generally how things are done, although it hasn't always been the case, but it is usually the case. At least the stuff that's in the foreground. It's certainly possible like that this clone that's shooting over here might not actually be in there, but I think it's pretty likely that everything that we see here will be in the box. All right, guys, that's pretty much everything we know about Star Wars Shatterpoint. It looks exciting, and I want to hear if you guys are excited. There's so many things, so many more questions that I want to ask. There's so many questions that I know you guys want to ask, so leave some of those in the comment section and we can speculate together, or join our Discord, which is a great community to keep asking questions. All right, that's going to do it, guys. I want to thank you all so much, and let's keep the discussion going. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are awesome and help make this channel possible. So thank you for your continued support. I will talk to you soon. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. Always wash your socks. Goodbye there.